I remember being a young student, learning for the first time about probability. I thought it was frustrating because it didn't really mean much to me in its abstract, unimplemented form. The light bulb flipped on for me when learning about frequencies and distributions of tolerances in a process. But I think a more relatable example is in a stock market. It's not possible to perfectly value a company. There are unknowns that are really hard to discover, measure, evaluate, and understand. Yet there the stock price is, an objective fact of the company's market value in that stock market at that time. We may not be able to perfectly value a company's stock, but we can build models that get us closer to what a price a company would be if it were perfectly valued in that stock market. These models are not 100% accurate. Any decision we make using the models has a probability to be wrong. The goal of the models is to produce information that increase the probability of a positive outcome from a decision made. I believe words often act as models, in a similar sense to a model to predict the stock market. In our heads, we have thoughts with information and data. These thoughts are real things to the individuals having them, even though they may not be able to be found in the material world. It is unfortunate humans cannot telepathically read each other's minds and have perfect understanding of another's thoughts and feelings. For an individual to share their thoughts, they have to communicate. There are forms of nonverbal communication, but if we are talking about communicating a complex or abstract idea, we will have to use language if we are to accurately communicate the information in our thoughts. Language acts similarly to a free market, where every exchange of words could be viewed as a transaction, and just like a transaction, every exchange of words requires agreement. In this case, the agreement being the meanings of words. For example, there is a language of math. We have agreed upon definitions of certain symbols, so when we perform mathematical logic, other individuals can interpret our logical reasoning. When we communicate, we are essentially trying to communicate as closely as possible the understanding in our own minds. What about something not so universally defined as math? Say, a category. The popular streamer and YouTuber, Demon Mama, in a debate, made this statement to communicate how she categorizes what makes a person a woman.
Understand, like, what is a woman?
Yeah, I think a woman is a person who identifies as a woman. Like, I literally think it's that simple.
No, you can't do that. That gets you a infinite regress. Like, it's a logical fallacy. You cannot just say that.
Well, yeah, but I think that identify like womanhood is a incoherent concept. That
No. I'm not hearing about incoherent. Like, you cannot just say that the definition of something is identifying as something. Like, hold on. Like,
I don't know. I think you can, because the fact that I think you actually can. Like, it's frustrating, but this is it's a limitation of language.
Perhaps Demon Mama's definition for the category of woman has changed. For simplicity, I am only going to scope in what Demon Mama said at this point in time because it's what kicked off my pursuit for understanding that I will attempt to communicate in this video. Before I go into my best, good faith interpretation of Demon Mama's statement and broader argument, I think it's important I define 3 terms and lay down some nuance. Biological sex, gender, and gender roles. Biological sex is a human-made category. In fact, all 3 terms are social constructs. A social construct being an idea that has been created and accepted by people in a society. Humans created the biological sex categories to help us mentally organize the world around us, to help us make better sense of the world and ourselves. There are many features that define these categories, but the end-all be-all feature is the presence of either the XX chromosome or XY chromosome. Predicting an individual's sex based on these chromosomes is incredibly accurate. However, like any model, it's not 100% accurate. Intersex individuals born with any of the several sex characteristics, including chromosome patterns, gonads, and genitals, cause our model for categorization of biological sex to not be 100% accurate, because they share features between both the male and female categories, highlighting the need for a third category, intersex. Gender traditionally is how an individual expresses their biological sex. Many of us see the painful cost of enforcing gender expression based solely on biological sex, the primary vector of this cost being gender roles. Gender roles traditionally are the expectations and prevailing characteristics society assigns to an individual based on their gender categorization. This is where the true harm of enforcing strict biological sex and gender categorization stems from. Instead of allowing an individual to make decisions based on their own personal inclinations, society, through enforcing strict sex and gender categorization, has acted as a surrogate decision maker. Instead of an individual optimizing their decision-making based on their own unique individual inclinations, they are forced to adopt decisions they find unfavorable or experience a significant cost for not conforming to the strict sex and gender categorization. This stigma of sex and gender nonconformity harms every individual by restricting them from freely making decisions. So to bring it all together, models for categorizing biological sex, given a set of features, is significantly accurate in predicting an individual's sex. But like all models, it is not 100% accurate. Gender traditionally is the expression of an individual's biological sex. But the traditional gender categorization has glaring failures due to its establishment of gender roles, which interrupts an individual's ability to optimize their decisions to best suit their unique individual inclinations. Okay, back to Demon Mama and her statement.
Understand, like, what is a woman?
Yeah, I think a woman is a person who identifies as a woman. Like, I literally think it's that simple.
No, you can't do that. That gets you a infinite regress. Like, it's a logical fallacy. You cannot just say that.
Well, yeah, but I think that identify like womanhood is a incoherent concept. That
No. I'm not hearing about incoherent. Like, you cannot just say that the definition of something is identifying as something. Like, hold on. Like,
I don't know. I think you can, because the fact that yeah, I think you actually can. Like, it's frustrating, but this is it's a limitation of language.
I think what Demon Mama is driving at is, since biological sex and gender are models for categorization lacking 100% accuracy, that we should abandon those models. She believes errors in those models' predictive ability of an individual's sex or gender creates tangible harm. In this, she's 100% correct. This harm is observed clearly in the stigma suffered by individuals who are trans. These individuals want to express characteristics that are, traditionally, out of bounds for their biological sex. Demon Mama and I would agree that someone expressing characteristics independent of their biological sex is a good thing, if it is what the individual wants to do. I think where Demon Mama gets in trouble is when she ignores the predictive value of the models. By stating an individual can only occupy a category in which that individual has explicitly declared they occupy. But in current times, there are clear signals a majority of people present to suggest their categorization. My best good faith guess for Demon Mama's ultimate motivation is to support the creation of a world in which individuals are totally free of the expectations of biological sex or gender expression to better optimize their decision making to make themselves the most happy. It may be unfortunate, but these models still hold valuable predictive abilities. The obvious reason for the current predictive accuracy is likely because only recently have these traditional expectations of sex and gender and their resulting gender roles been broadly challenged. It could be that our models for predicting a categorization of sex and gender are really predicting the level of outside factors' influence on the manifestation of sex or gender, such as social expectations. However, it is also possible that even in a genderless world, biological sex would have significant influence on an individual's decision-making. It could be that traditional gender expression is significantly correlated with biological sex, and then strict traditional gender roles were enforced to correct for the variation in that correlation, creating the illusion that the models for predicting sex or gender are far more accurate than they really are. Finally, it is widely understood that traditional gender role enforcement causes great harm to everyone under that enforcement, in particular to those brave individuals who choose to not conform to strict gender roles. As a society, we should always seek to root out surrogate decision-making to create a society in which individuals are as free as possible to make decisions that optimize their harmony with themselves and society at large. The model for categorizing biological sex may be flawed and may be a vestigial social construct of a soon-to-be bygone era, but we should recognize that these models for categorization still have valuable predictive abilities, from which many individuals freely accept the resulting categorization. We should strive for the abolition of gender roles in the institution of gender expression free of societal pressures.